You're talking to a franchise here that has a WNBA team as well, the Indiana Fever. We see the hat, and you are obviously very involved in NBA Twitter, but in WNBA Twitter as well. What has led to the growth in your own fandom and interest in the WNBA?
Oh, you know what it was? So the basketball book came out, Basketball and Other Things, in 2017. And there's a writer, her name is Natalie Weiner. Or I think she pronounces it Weiner. I have an editor, her name is Samantha Weiner. And they spell it the same way, I believe. But Natalie got the book and she was like, she pointed out that I called it Basketball and Other Things, but I didn't mention any like WNBA stuff. And in the beginning of the book, I wrote like, this is a love letter to the NBA or whatever. But still, I used basketball in the title and I didn't talk about the WNBA. And when she pointed that out, I was like, oh, that's a good point. Like why haven't I paid more attention to this? So this is 2017. So then going into that tournament, the NCAA tournament, March Madness, I was like, I'm going to watch the women's tournament this year as well, and the lead up to the WNBA season, and then like try to learn the players and get more, just be like more aware of it. And so I did that. That was 2018, and I like picked it. I went through my little routine of like figuring out who I was going to root for, and I ended up with the Las Vegas Aces because I used to be in San Antonio, which is where I live, and I'm a big Spurs fan, as you mentioned. And then also they had just drafted Asia Wilson, who was like this rookie power forward who was going to dominate the game. And I'm like, this feels a lot like when we got Tim Duncan, and like all the pieces are lining up. They have Bill Laimbeer as a coach. They just hired Becky Hammon as a coach, who came out of San Antonio as well. But I started, 2018 was the first time I watched it. And then it's very much like when you watch the NBA, when it becomes the most interesting is when you learn all of the like backstories among the players, and like you start to see them as almost like you would characters in a TV show. Like you turn on a TV show for the first time and you're drawn to the like whatever the main storyline is, but the more you get into it, the more you start to like find yourself out in the world. And the same thing what's happening with the WNBA. Like you turn on the game and you watch Asia Wilson, and like that's the player you're drawn to. But then like by the end of the season, you're like, De'Arica Hamby is like, this might be my favorite player because she plays a certain way, or she does this, or Chelsea Gray because she's like running her mouth when she's out there or whatever. So it's like very much it started in 2018 and then just has sort of grown from then. And so by now, when I turn the game on and I know all the players, it's just like so much fun to watch, and the same way that you watch an NBA game.
Yeah, it means basketball year round as well. And who wouldn't take that? Hey, I want to, Shea Serrano's with us, and I want to close here talking about books appropriately. And first, let's talk about Chris Herring's. Have you had the chance? We had him on, Shea, a couple of weeks ago to discuss his book. Have you had the chance?
Yeah, baby.
Have you had the chance to read it? What are your thoughts on it, if so?
Yeah, I read it real fast, like super fast. Any of the stuff where I'm like, I wonder if there's going to be Reggie in here. I wonder if there's going to be the Spurs in here. I'm really excited about reading it. But yeah, so I read it, and the thing that I like about Chris's work, I actually got the chance to blurb the book, so I got to see it a little bit early. The thing that I like about his work is that once you like get into it, it feels less like you're like reading a thing and more like you're experiencing a thing. It's really hard to do as a writer, and he's really, really good at it. And so you start reading the book, and by like 10 pages in, it feels like you've been dropped back into that world. It feels like you're wandering around the garden talking to people. He interviewed so many people for it. There's so much research done. It's clear from the opening page that he like did a ton of research, and those sorts of books usually work out pretty good. I loved it. It's just so much fun to read. It's the same as watching old highlights. You get to like picture it in your head, and a different thing happens than when you like watch. You watch a clip on YouTube, you only can see like what you can see on the clip. When you read it in a book, you remember like all of this stuff that was happening around it. You're able to like to place yourself back into like whatever you were doing at the time, and it just feels. I loved it. I love that book. Everybody should check it out.
Also true for basketball and other things. It might not be new, but for many people watching, it could perhaps be new to them. You noted it has the forward by Reggie Miller, so plenty of Pacers ties right there. You can still, I assume, pick that up where you normally would get books, correct?
Yeah, you can get it wherever. It's wherever books are sold. It'll be right next to Chris's book when you go to Barnes and Noble.
Anything else you're working on here lately?
We have a TV show that we're shooting, like a sitcom. I'm doing it with Mike Schur, who everybody loves because he did The Good Place and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Office and Parks and Rec and like every cool show that was on TV, every funny show that was on TV for like the last 15 years or whatever. That was Mike had his fingerprints on it. We start shooting that this summer. That's going to be cool. But that's it. I'm going to sneak. If you watch the show, there will be some Reggie Miller stuff snuck in there. I promise you.
Well, there you go. Reason enough to watch. Hey, Shea, this has been years in the making for us. Our producer, Ken Softman's been working on it for years. We can't thank you for time the conversation here, and best of luck moving forward with all of your work. And of course, we hope that you'll be following along with the Pacers as well.
Yeah, of course I will. Y'all will always have a place in my little Mexican heart.